Welcome to Into the Mind of a Madman with your host, me, the Madman. How old is 14 really? It's a great Dave Chappelle joke. He was speaking to the fact of R. Kelly and his sexual habits. This was, I don't know the exact date, but it was years and years ago. It's over a decade now, right? And the joke plays on what R. Kelly was alleged of doing with younger girls. It spoke on an incident where a 14-year-old kid was charged as an adult when he attempted a wrestling move on his younger sibling and ended up killing the younger sibling. It spoke on a little girl who was kidnapped and she got out the situation somehow and she was about 7. This was all within the joke. If you know the joke, you know the joke, you know the joke. In 2020, we're still dealing with how old is 14 really? Here in America, we have a legal age of 18. We have a legal age of 21. Well, today the legal age of cigarettes went up to 21. It used to be 18. We have a legal age of 21 and we have a society, a cultural society age of 18 where we consider you about a young adult. At that age, most are done with high school, about to embark on college, done with high school, about to hit the workforce. 18, we, as a society, we accept that you're old enough to handle responsibilities that come with being a productive citizen. Legally, there is an age of 18 where sexually is a line. 17, you're one way, and 18, you shouldn't be not considered a minor. That's what I would say. Right? In other countries and other cultures, at particular ages, say, Jewish people have bar mitzvahs at 13, which symbolizes pretty much adulthood, young adulthood. They have they have a bar mitzvah. Hispanics have quinceañeras at 16. Americans have sweet 16s. But, you know, particularly with Jewish people, with like Hispanics, um, you know, I watched the show, um, what is it? My Gypsy Wedding or something like that, or My Gypsy Life, or something of that nature. They have these ceremonies, you know, at like 16, where they look, you reach a threshold at 16 to where you're capable of handling certain responsibilities. Here in America, we say that age is 18 legally. We say that age is 21 legally. 18, you can graduate high school and enlist in the army and the military. Now, I grew up in New York City, Brooklyn, New York. I may be a little faster than the average Southern kid. The average New York kid, as far as living life on their own, I would say some would say latchkey kids. New Yorkers, they experience life a little bit more than, I guess, the average Southern kid. And so, from my perspective, 14 is an age where you're now entering high school. You've been traveling to school by yourself. You've been getting around the city by yourself. You're expected to make it home by yourself and like take care of yourself, you know, because most parents work 1, 2 jobs, whatever it is. There's no, I'm picking you up from school. There's no school bus at that point. You know, in New York City, school buses are primarily for, you know, like handicapped students or special ed students, or like even as a middle school kid or elementary school kid, it's pretty much for like if you were going to a school that was far away, like kind of out your district. Growing up in New York, in the projects, most kids walk to school by themselves or walk to school with their friends or their little brothers or sisters or older brothers and sisters. I did that. I walked to school. Like my apartment in school was probably five blocks away, and we walked to school by ourselves. Like our moms and dad had to go to work, and we went to school. You know, we pretty much walked ourselves to school. As a middle school kid, my dad would take us on a bus to the middle school once we before the first day of school. He showed us how to get there and back, and we went on our own. And in high school, it was the same thing. So with that aspect, you know, we've integrated into society, especially in New York, just as my parents would. You know what I'm saying? My parents took the bus and the train, the same bus and the train as I took the school, and it wasn't necessarily together, you know. There was no hey, everybody's from this building, so we're all going to the same school, and y'all all stick together. You had to have some type of sense of awareness about you. You had to, because kidnappings didn't just start, or muggings didn't just start. A lot, robberies didn't just start. Like it's been around, and we had to get to school, come home, had your key to the house, and you made food, or not necessarily you had to cook a meal for everybody, but if you were hungry, you used the microwave or the stove to cook something at the particular time. Whatever it is, it's like your mom's is not going to be home for a couple hours, right? So, like I said, at 14, 15, 16, you're in high school. You're expected to have some wits about you. Average 14-year-old, or high school, I should say. We gonna make it about a high school. Once you're in high school, you think you know it all. You think you got it down. You think you older than what you are. You can take care of yourself. It's if you was in high school and your mother said, "Hey, I'm getting you a babysitter," I'm talking. You look at your mother crazy. You be like, "I can take care of myself. Like, I got this. Y'all go do what y'all do. I'll be at the home, or I'll be outside chilling, or whatever it is." It's not like a babysitter's age. You know what I'm saying? Like, at that point, you babysitting your little brothers and sisters. And the reason I want to have this conversation, right? Because now I live in the South. I live in Charlotte. And like these kids down here, they still take school buses to high schools and to elementary schools and middle schools and all of that, and they not necessarily moving around the city as a New York kid would. Like like in New York, I could skip school and go to the Bronx, or go to uptown to Harlem or Queens, or I could just move around on how I want because I knew how everything worked. You know what I'm saying? I moved around the city as a teenager, and knowing to my parents or not knowing to my parents, I moved around the city by myself. I mean, it's just how we moved. Like most New York kids is like that. So but I say that to say, you had to have some type of wits to you. You know what I'm saying? And once you reach high school, you're old enough to know right or wrong. You're old enough to know if you wanted to play hooky and sneak off with your friends, or sneak off with a girl, bring her back to the house, as many kids did, or go to her house, or whatever you wanted to do. You were aware that you were doing something wrong. You were doing something you couldn't tell your parents. You were doing something that you needed to sneak around to do. Even if it was smoking weed or whatever. Like, a lot of people think, like, the perception is the bad kids are not going to school, dropouts. The bad kids, they the one turn out to be the drug dealers. A lot of kids who go to school do bad things. They not just necessarily bad kids. So cutting school and sneaking off to people's houses and things of that nature. It happens, and all of us are very aware at a high school age of what we are accountable for. Not saying that in the South they're not aware of that, but I'm just saying I could only go off my perspective. My perspective is, when you do reach 14, 15, 16, 17, you are very aware of situations. Now, can you be manipulated? Yes. At 21, you can't be manipulated. At 35, you can't be manipulated. A lot of people who are in need of whatever, if there is someone who says that they can provide it for you, at any age you can be manipulated. You get what I'm saying? So when we have these age discussions and like something happens to a 16-year-old, everybody is so up in arms as if the older person took advantage of them, you know? Now, yeah, you get taken advantage of, but don't blame it on the age, because these 16-year-olds are very aware. You know, in my opinion, they are very aware. You remember when you were 16, you thought you knew a lot and you were very aware. You are of sound mind. You were very aware of the decisions you were making because you knew you had to sneak around your parents' back. You knew you couldn't tell all of your friends, maybe just your closest friend, because you knew the other one had a big mouth or whatever the case was. I had a conversation and they told me that it was the R. Kelly situation, right? We had the conversation and they said to me, well, if he's doing it to a 16-year-old, which is totally wrong, right? I get it. He's an older person. He shouldn't be talking to them. But he's wrong for doing that, right? Because she's 16, she don't know no better. She's taking advantage of him. He's preying on this little girl. But they say if the girl was 23, it's running game. So the age makes it running game? I believe if you prey on people, you just prey on people. That's evilness within you. You can't talk to somebody on your particular level and come to a understanding, come to a compromise or whatever you want to call it. So you prey on the less fortunate. You prey on somebody who's in need of something. Whether the person is 16 or the person is 28, if you preying on people, you are prey. You're a predator. That's pretty much it to me, you know. And then I just hate the argument when we do have these conversations. Well, they not old enough to know. Then I go, what's old enough to know? At what age do you expect the person to know? Like, at what age can you say, you know what? You 17 now, you should know you shouldn't be messing with a 40-year-old. You should know you shouldn't be messing with somebody with kids. Or you should, like, at what age can we say that? And you know usually what the answer is? The answer usually to that question is, I don't know. We can't put an age limit on it because everybody doesn't develop the same. I'm tired of hearing that. Everybody doesn't develop the same. You know, they say whatever in the brain, your brain doesn't fully develop till you're 25. So let's just make the legal age 25. Let's make everything 25. That's when you're smart enough, or you should have the wits to know better. If not, let's start putting a a, a requirement on our kids to know better when you're in high school, to know better when you're in elementary school. Now, a lot of parents, some do, some don't, they teach their kid right and wrong growing up, right? They teach their kid, hey, don't let nobody touch your hair. Don't let nobody touch your private parts. Don't let nobody talk to you this way. Don't let nobody take you over here. Don't take candy from a stranger, right? We learn this as kids. But once you get about 10, 12, high school, nobody continues to teach that. We have to start holding kids responsible for certain things at certain ages. You get what I'm saying? At 9 years old, you need to know how to clean up your room. You need to know you can't take candy from strangers. You need to know you need to come in when the street lights come on. We have to have certain rules. You know what I'm saying? All right, now that you're 14, you're in high school, you need to know how to come home. You need to know how to take out the trash to the corner. You need to know how to go to the store. We went to the store by ourselves, counting the change. You know, it's like everything can't be when something happens to a young kid. Oh, they weren't old enough to know, they got taken advantage of. Nah, they knew. They got taken advantage of, yes. But they knew they had to do some sneaking around to do it. They knew they couldn't come home and say, Mom, I'm dealing with this 40-year-old lady. Mom, I'm dealing with this 35-year-old man. They picking me up from school. They buying me Jordans. They giving me money. It's like we are well aware of the actions. We are well aware of the consequences. But at 14, you just think it ain't gonna happen to you. You think you living it up. You not as you think you the flyest because you dealing with such a person. You think you got it, that they want you. I get it. I get all of that. But understand, you play a role. And the only way I believe for us to get this to come to a halt, whether it be for my daughter or yours or your son, whoever's listening, right? We have to start installing responsible age requirements, responsibilities for your age requirements of what you should know. So when situations occur, you're not like, well, he just didn't know. He just didn't know. He wasn't on. Then whose fault is that? It's you, the parent. The parent is responsible for your child to know how to handle themselves in the situation. Not to say you can't get kidnapped, or you can't be taken advantage of, or you can't be persuaded. You're persuaded by your peers. Peer pressure is real. That's a real word. It's not made up, fictitious. You could be by your peers. So imagine somebody older than you who you may look up to, you know, whether it be a basketball coach, a football coach, a clergyman, you know. It could be anything. You may look up to these people and as a father figure, mother figure, big brother, big sister, and they could be taking advantage of you. So many people prey on people. We just got to call it for what it is. It is a lot of predators out here. But with that being said, there will always be predators. Predators are not going to go away. There is no way to know who's a predator. There is no, like, predators don't necessarily show signs to people before they get caught being a predator. You get what I'm saying? So the only way we can combat predators is teaching the youth that you are going to be held accountable for your actions. These are the responsibilities. At 15, this is what you need to know. You don't need to be messing with older people. You still in school. I got you. If you need something, come to me. This is, whatever your standard is for being your parent, that's what you got to install in your kid. So they're not looking for the older man or woman who can prey on the fact that they don't got no money in their pocket and they want to eat, and this person is giving them money for sleeping with them or spending time with them or whatever the situation is. It's on the parent to give these requirements. And as a society, we have to have age restricted requirements. Like, you need to know these things. That's the only way to combat these predators. Because like I said, a girl could be 28, a lady could be 28, and if she's struggling, she got a kid, she's struggling at work, she ain't got a good job, rent got to be paid. If I come along flashing some money, she gonna do whatever I want because she's in a situation. Not all, but I'm saying if a woman is in dire need and she feel like I'm her way out, I can do whatever I want to her as the predator because I'm preying on what she needs. So we gotta stop with the whole they young. They being preyed on, yes. But whether you prey on somebody who's 14 or prey on somebody who's 28, you still a predator. So we have to just establish some type of skill set to where you need to be aware. We gotta stop holding these kids, and I say kids, we children, young adults. We gotta stop holding these young adults' hand because we not there with them 24/7. We not there with them 24/7. So we gotta start installing some responsibility and accountability. And I'm gonna hold you to this. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna hold you to this. Not babying them in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Not, well, you ain't old enough to handle that yet. No, you are. You gotta wear this. You gonna hold this responsibility. I'm gonna hold you accountable. And we gotta start installing that in our youth. Listen, I understand everybody develops different. But when predators are out here, it's only on us to make sure our kids are equipped with the knowledge of how to handle themselves. We have to start being real with our kids. We can't shelter them from the world that is. This is the world we live in, and we have to understand that. We have to come to a realization with that. Our kids, we cannot hold their hands through life. They're at school 8 hours to 10 hours a day by themselves. We are working. We are doing our thing to provide for them. We need them to be accountable for their actions. So, how old is 14 really? To me, 14 is old enough to know better. And I want you to treat them as they know better, because you're going to teach them better. Thank you for rocking with me in these thoughts of mine.